That's crazy too. Okay, hi guys. I'm Alaz from the Two Cents Club, and today we have with us Kenneth Morgan Aguilera. Is that how you say it?
Aguilera. Close
Aguilera.
enough. Close enough.
All right, tell us about yourself.
All right, guys. Well, again, let me just say it again. My name is Dr. Kenneth Morgan Aguilera, and I'm running for Congress here in Texas, 12th Congressional District. I am a husband. I'm a father. I'm also a grandfather of eight. So I know I'm a lot older than I look. My oldest is 32, my youngest is 21, so I've been around for a while. Currently, I'm working as an executive director. I'm running a nonprofit healthcare organization in which we give back to the underserved and uninsured community. I'd say for the last 20, 25 years, I have worked in healthcare, run from hospitals, running hospitals, nursing homes, to skilled nursing facilities. I'm also a veteran, served 12 years in the United States Army. So I'm not new to this, but I just decided after seeing the current administration and what was happening, it's definitely time for a change. And so, out of fear for my family and everybody else I see around me, I thought that it would be a good idea for me to run for Congress to make some change. And so, that's kind of a little bit about me. Anything else you want to know, just please feel free to ask. Very down to earth, easy to approach. Family working, grew up poor, and I'm rambling on again. But anyway, um, I'm one of seven. My mother had seven children. Grew up poor from Chicago. Um, First in my family to go to college, graduate, get my doctorate. So yes.
Okay, that's really cool. Could you how has how has being in the military, do you feel like how does that affect how you see the things that have been going on, especially with our like foreign policies and stuff like that, and the things that we've been doing overseas?
Honestly, I'm ashamed to be a veteran and the one who served in the military today and seeing where it's going and where it has gone with this current administration. I'm ashamed. And I'm ashamed, I'm embarrassed to even say that Donald Trump is our president. But I want to see some change immediately, and I'm hoping that we can get this change because things have gone to hell in a handbasket and it's continuing to escalate, and it's going to get much worse unless Congress reels in Donald Trump and put him in his place. It's going to get worse. So I'm ashamed. I'm embarrassed.
And for could you explain to people who don't really understand what a U.S. representative does?
Okay, so a U.S. representative is another word for I'm Congress. So tentatively, when people say a U.S. representative, there's the House, which is the U.S. Congress, and there's a state level. I'm running for Congress on a federal level and not the state level. And so, what my primary job will be is writing policies and legislation that will govern not just Texas, but affect every state in the union. And so when he's dealing with, like people like laws for traffic, writing rules and regulations for organizations, hospitals, nursing homes, um, getting tickets, telling the judge what to do, the laws that the Supreme Court follows, all of those are things that are set by the legislative branch, and we're intended to be a dual role to actually offset the president and Senate so that one branch doesn't have more power than the other. It's meant to be a balance. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I did. Thank you so much. And you were talking about writing legislation, and I saw on your website that you had a plan for healthcare. Could you expand on it?
Absolutely. I'm gonna start by saying this. Right now, in federal taxes, we pay more than $7.9 trillion a year in federal taxes. And with this being the United States of America, there's no reason why we don't have a universal health care plan program. You got countries like Canada, Mexico, Australia that actually has this, but yet we're the United States of America. We're one of the richest countries in the nation, and we don't have that. So I came up with an idea or a plan based on some things I've seen around the world to create a universal healthcare plan that will control costs and bring down the cost of healthcare. Now, I will also say, keep in mind that with the $7.9 trillion we pay every year in federal taxes, 3.4 billion is spent back into Medicaid, Medicare, and taking care of the uninsured. So if we consider what's being spent every year, that $3.4 billion in healthcare for the uninsured Medicare, Medicaid, we can actually invest that into a universal healthcare plan, which will bring down the cost of healthcare and it will not cost taxpayers any additional money. Now, I did create it with being a two-tier plan, meaning tier one is more of an HMO that will cover everybody in the United States of America. Tier two is a plan that you can elevate up to like a PPO, meaning you can go outside of your network, choose different doctors, different hospitals, but there's an associated cost with that particular plan. It doesn't increase significantly, but just a little bit, but that is fully covered by you or your employer. Only the Universal Healthcare HMO plan level one is covered fully in my plan.
Okay, and that two-tier plan, I feel like it's to address like the concern with that people have with like how like they say like if we have universal health care, then like everybody's gonna get bad health care or something like that.
They say that, but that's I think that's more talk out of fear because I've spent, like I said, 20 years working in healthcare, and a universal healthcare plan does not reduce, it does not provide bad care. It actually levelizes care on a playing field so that everyone is getting the same quality level of care. Because right now, if you go to a hospital, you can have two patients in there with congestive heart failure. And based on who their insurance or their payer source is, the care is going to be different. But if you have a universal healthcare plan, that means healthcare will be the same across the board for everyone because it's a set standard and it doesn't deviate based on if you have United Healthcare, or Blue Cross Blue Shield, or if you're rich or poor. It's a universal plan that follows everyone regardless of your payer type.
Okay, that's really cool. Wait, give me one second.
Mhm.
Um, and you had talking about universal childcare. Why do you feel
Mhm.
that that's something that US Americans would really benefit from?
I'm going to say universal childcare is extremely important. And I'm going to use this as an example. Right now we have welfare, we have food stamps, and we have this system that we help the less fortunate, but we don't give them all the tools they need to be successful and independent. If we want to have to groom our nation or our people where they're independent, they can live independently of the system when there's a government shutdown like we just had and everything doesn't come to a screeching halt. Giving them all the tools they need to be successful will build that platform or build that core. Meaning, for example, the current minimum wage is $7.25 an hour, right? And so if that is the current federal minimum wage of 7.25, I'm going to run it up to $8 an hour, okay? And at 80 hours for every 2 weeks is about $640 roughly before taxes. A month, that's about 1,300 bucks before taxes. So there's no way the average working class person, whether it's married, family, or dual household income, can afford to pay for healthcare or childcare. Because right now the average person for childcare is paying about $350 a week. Right there, that is eating up your entire check for 2 weeks paying for childcare. So it doesn't give you any incentive to go back to school or to work or to better yourself because everything that you're making is going back out for childcare. But if you take that plan and you give families a universal healthcare system, universal childcare system based off of their level of income, it gives them the tools they need to go to school, to get a better education, to even work and make more money and be more productive so that they're not fully dependent on the system for everything. And so when you give mothers that, you give fathers that support they need and those tools, they're more independent and they don't depend on a system that's going to fail them when there's a government shutdown because of exactly what just happened a few months ago, and that's probably going to happen again in about 2 weeks.
Oh, what? Really?
Yeah. Okay. So when we had the government shutdown a couple of months ago, right?
Uh-huh.
And during that government shutdown, they reopened. Part of the reason the government shut down was because of health care. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah.
so you had seven Democrats and one independent come together and decide to join with the Republicans to reopen the government with the hopes or promise that they would give us health care or they would have the conversation of health care. Well, they had the conversation of health care, but now that affordable health care subsidy still has to pass the House and the Senate. It did not pass both departments of House and Senate. And so, if that did not pass both parts, both House and the Senate completely the way it was intact, that means on January 31st, the government will shut back down because we didn't pass a full term budget. It was just a budget that was in the interim to keep things status quo. So it didn't add, it didn't take anything away. It just meant that on a certain day, we're going to be right back before legislation discussing these same things again. So there is no budget per se. And so right now, the government still cannot agree on the healthcare subsidies. The Senate wants one thing, and the Congress, the House, wants something completely different. So until they come together, we're going to be in the same place again, January 31st, which I believe will end up in another government shutdown.
Dang,
Yeah, yeah.
dang.
So we didn't accomplish anything. In my opinion, Donald Trump played he put healthcare up against people hungry. He turned one against the other one to fight. But the president did not have the power or the authority to end the food stamp program. He could delay it and slow it down, but he couldn't end it because these were funds that was appropriated by Congress. And so he played one against the other one, kind of like a kid does mom against dad to get what they wanted. And of course, the government, everybody said, okay, we'll give them back the food stamps. And then healthcare was left out there swinging in the open, and which was going to affect Medicare, Medicaid, and everything else. And so, just what happened that those terms expired December 31st, healthcare premiums shot up to more than $1,500 for the average family, which they cannot afford. And while they're saying that, yeah, we've passed ACA subsidies, it has not fully passed. And so, meanwhile, you have you, me, and everyone else, including retired citizens and veterans, trying to figure out how they're going to pay that $1,500 premium this month. That's a problem. And so not only you have January, you got February, you have March. This plan is not in place right now. It has to be passed by House and by Senate, and then go back to the president's desk to be re-signed again. So do you truly think that Trump is going to sign that? And if he doesn't, that means we right back where we started out at, and then we're going to need 2/3 of the House and 2/3 of the Senate to agree in order to override the president's veto.
Okay, okay. Thanks. I did not know that about that at all. That is crazy.
Yeah. That's why I say it's a lot more in detail than people actually realize. They say, "Oh yeah, Congress passed it." No, not really, because it has to go through the House, and then if it doesn't pass the House exactly the way that it was written in Senate, then that bill has to be renegotiated and it goes back. And by some extreme chance, the House and the Senate agree to leave it exactly the way it is. The president has the ability to say no and veto the whole bill. But then you
I
got to go
hope not.
right back to the House, and then you
Yeah.
need 2/3 majority to sign that. And right now, even as the Democrats, we don't have 2/3 majority of the House. That would mean the Republicans and the Democrats have to agree, and that would mean 2/3 of them out of what is it, 435? You're going to need well over 200 to agree to that, and then go back to the Senate where you're going to need 60 in order to, yeah.
Yeah. Dang.
Yeah. So it's a lot more in entail. And this is why I keep telling people they want to say that it's a Democrat or Republican issue. It's not. It's a government issue. Our government failed us. Well, they're Republican or Democrat, they failed us because we should not be having this conversation in 2026, not even in 2025. Because if they will stop and do what's right by the people, this wouldn't be an issue. We can give $40 billion to Argentina. Trump gave his son $620 million loan from government money. Not to mention the billions he spent flying around the country, but we can't give the people universal health care, universal child care. It's a freaking joke.
It really is. Yeah. What would you think is our biggest issue that our country is facing right now?
Donald Trump.
Yeah.
I'm going to say the biggest issue we have going right now next to healthcare is Donald Trump because we got a president and commander in chief that's acting like a toddler who's going into different countries, kidnapping the presidents and their wives, and threatening to take space from other countries just because you feel like you can do it. That's excuse my language. That's a damn joke. He don't have the power to do what he's doing, and so he's acting like a damn toddler having a tantrum, and Congress is refusing to reel him in because Congress has the power of the purse. Only Congress can declare war. Only Congress can give the authority for him to do what he did. But yet you got Pam Bunn, you got Cash Patel, you got Pete Hegseth all lying, creating false narratives, feeding to the public, saying, "Oh, this was a matter of national security." Excuse me, but I have to call bullshit. I'm sorry, excuse my language,
No,
but I
you're
gotta
good.
call it's bull.
No, it
And
is. Yeah.
we're going to end up in a war very soon because now he wants to threaten to take Greenway. You
Yeah.
can't take that. This is a sovereign nation now. But remember, one of the first things Trump did when he went into office was he took us out of the NATO agreement. He exited that agreement, and so now we're out here by ourselves trying to, which would have to defend us alone because there was NATO. There was a whole bunch of different countries or entities that came together to form NATO as one big nation. That we were attacked. We'd all come together. You attack one, you attack all. Well, Trump took us out of that. And now he's going around threatening war against Greenland and Mexico and all these other countries that are you serious? And now China, who owns stock in Venezuela, who China and was it's China and one other country, I can't remember the name right now. They have a $80 billion agreement with Venezuela for oil. And now we have seized those oil tankers off the coast and taking
Yeah.
them, and now we're going in saying we're going to take over and we're going to run this country and we're going to control their oil. We don't have the fucking authority to do that. That is ungovernable. That's unpresidential, and it defies the Geneva Convention plus international law. He can't do it, but no one is reeling him in. And while the House said we're going to do this, but then it passed the House, but Senate failed it. So we got a president that's out of control.
Senate failed that Trump
That
can't be passing stuff like that.
Yep. There was a bill in the House that was admitted in the legislation during the first week that the House was back in session. There was a bill to stop Trump from doing what he did to Venezuela and other countries.
Hmm.
And so it passed the House. But when it went to the Senate to debate, the Republicans denied it. So it didn't pass. So he's still doing what he's doing. Now, granted, the president still doesn't have the power or the ability to declare war or do anything that he's doing, but Congress can write legislation that narrows or controls the president's power as long as Congress and Senate agrees together and pass it with a two-thirds majority. Well, they did. Just like the Epstein files. Trump signed it. That's a perfect example. With the Epstein files, the House passed to remember to release all the files other than the names of the victims, and so did the Senate. But then the president got there to his desk, he signed it. But what did he do? He turned around and declared that he wanted an investigation into Bill Clinton and other people into the Epstein list. So once he declared an open investigation, that allowed Pam Bundy to say, oh, wait, nope, we're not going to release those files. There's an open investigation. And what did they do? They didn't release all the files. Only 1% of the files were released. 1%.
Being.
So what did we accomplish? Absolutely nothing. So everything Donald Trump does, he does with an agenda. He does with he there's a reason behind what he does. And for him to go, I'm not going to release the files, to suddenly release the files, you have to stop and say, what the hell is he up to? And just as I thought, House passed it, Senate can pass it, but he signs off on it. But then Pam Bundy still says, we're not releasing. And they didn't. Or they blacked out majority of all of the files. And so now you got to go back to the court. You got to file charges against the government or sue the government to release it or issue subpoenas. But they're in this Department of Justice. What are they doing? Nothing's going to happen because the Department of Justice falls under Donald Trump. So
Mm.
until we get a judicial system that will, or a legal system, or checks and balances that will hold Donald Trump in accountability for what he's doing, nothing's going to happen. Because as far as I'm concerned, Pam Bunny needs to go to jail. Cash Patel needs to go to jail. They all need to be held accountable for the war crimes that they are committing. Period. The end. So how can we go to another country, take over, tell them what to do, or more or less, for example, he said that the president in Venezuela was doing drug deals, but yet he pardoned one of the biggest drug lords of all times.
He got him citizenship, I heard, or
So
something like
he gave
that.
him a
Yeah.
full pardon and released him from a United States jail, but then you turn around and say this is why you are attacking Venezuela when we knew that was bullshit. Because if you think about when Trump first went into office, within a couple of months of being in office, he said he wanted to go to Venezuela and take the oil. So when Donald Trump says something, people need to listen because he tells you exactly what he's going to do.
He do,
If
yeah.
you're paying attention, he does it. He says it as a joke, or he's even said, I'm gonna end elections. If you vote for me just this one last time, you never gotta vote again. Well, if he declares war or martial law, he can end the election for 2026.
Oh, can he?
Absolutely. As long
For
as
the
we are under
midterms?
martial law, as long as we're under martial law or we are in an active war, the president can suspend elections per the Constitution.
Ah. So
Hmm.
do you think like maybe he's like literally getting us into wars on purpose?
Yes, ma'am.
I
Remember when he was in the White House in the Oval when he had a meeting with Putin in the office, and he said, "So if you're saying if we are under war, I can end the elections."
He said that?
Remember that? Remember? Go back and Google it.
Nah.
Remember, it was he had a press conference in the Oval with I think it was Putin, and
Yeah.
he said, if we are in war during the 2026 elections, I can suspend elections." He said, "Hmm."
Damn.
Now look at what he's doing, but go don't take my word for it. Go
Nah, yeah.
research and see if we are under martial law or if we are in a war, the elections can be stopped. So essentially, he said that if he do this, he don't want to be considered a dictator, but he wants to be king. He wants to be
Mm.
a king, and he's doing everything he can to cause disruption across the United States. He's doing it. Look at Minnesota. You got ICE shooting a woman in the head, point blank, shot her in the head. There was no reason for him to shoot her. She was trying to get away from him. He shot her. She was a U.S. citizen. He was not in any harm's way, and so he should be charged with a capital murder offense.
For real.
But what happened? Department of Justice and Christy Nome came out defending him, and so did Donald Trump. Are you fucking serious? And so what did they do? They turned around and shot two more people in Portland, Oregon the next day. And the other night, they shot another man in the leg from Venezuela in Minnesota. So
Oh,
we've had
damn.
one, two, three, four shootings with one
This month.
fatality in the last week. In the last
Week.
week.
Dang.
So you don't think that we need to rein in ICE? We absolutely do. We
Yeah.
absolutely do.
Yeah.
I'm of the nation. I understand the importance of having a secure border, but to charge people money, $100,000 to get a Trump gold card to come across the border, are you fucking serious?
That is crazy.
He's
Yeah.
pimping he's pimping out America while he's in the White House getting rich. Sorry,
He's
but that's
selling like hella coins and shit. He's making a buck off of this
he
presidency.
made over $500 billion in one day on Bitcoins. And if you go back to his first election, he was against Bitcoins. He railed against, and it was the biggest thing. That was a crime. It was stealing money. But now he turned around and created the Trump coin.
Bruh.
I mean, come on. Are you serious? What other president do we know one that can have 34 felonies, go to office, get in there, be and we all know he's done things with Epstein, but the MAGA team still supports him. He goes into other countries and he attacks them, he takes things, he creates businesses, even have Elon in the White House with a Tesla on the front lawn. But if Biden or Obama would have done that, they'd have been impeached
Oh,
immediately. Absolutely,
immediately.
hands down. And so this is why I say this president is a fucking joke, and he's turning the United States of America into a fucking clown. It's like the circus.
No, really. Yeah. Um, do you, okay, as like a representative, what powers would you have to be able to rein in ICE?
A lot.
Yeah.
The legislation, the Congress has the ability to end most things the president is doing. Because of the checks and balances, I can write legislation to end whatever he's doing. So everything he's reversed, like FEMA and all these things. First of all, when he reversed FEMA and he ended all these other things that he's ended, like Department of Education.
You reversed
Yeah.
FEMA?
Yes, ma'am. He took all the
Dang.
funds from FEMA and rerouted those funds to ICE. Go back and you remember
Damn.
everybody was fussing about how there was no money in FEMA. He took the
Yeah.
money from FEMA that was set aside and appropriated by Congress for FEMA and gave it to ICE. ICE was spending over $40 million per day in the things that they were doing. Don't take my word for it. Go back and research it. And you will see he took money from the Department of Education. He took money from FEMA. Most of the government entities that was open, he went in and dismantled and tried to shut them down, and those funds are rediverted over to ICE right now. He's offering people in ICE $50,000 sign-on bonuses for
I
ICE.
heard
Are
about
you
that.
are you serious? But yet we cannot give the American citizens or just people in America health care. And they want to float this idea that the veterans is abusing our healthcare system and taking all our tax dollars. Are you fucking serious? Most people that are here in this country, even if they are here illegally, have jobs and are working. I'm not saying that it's okay to work, be here illegally and working illegally. But what I am saying, illegal immigrants cannot get Medicaid. Illegal immigrants cannot get welfare, cannot get food, and they cannot get housing. It is a misnomer. It is a myth that the far right wing is creating. The immigrants are not getting Medicare, Medicaid. They're not. The only way they can get Medicaid is if they are here with a green card. If they have a green card, then legally they can petition for Medicaid or certain governmental assistance, even though they're not supposed to. Now, I will say, when a person comes over on a green card, your spouse, who's a U.S. citizen, is supposed to pledge or show financial stability. That they can care for you, that she won't be a dependent or a burden onto the system. But all of this stuff that's saying that they're on Medicaid and they're stealing money, bullshit. They cannot. It's a lie. It is something that they are saying. And if anybody has ever filled out an application for Medicare or Medicaid, you got to have a social security number. They verify your information. You got to give up everything, including your firstborn, to get a Medicaid card. You can't. It's a joke. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good. Um, huh. Think we Oh, there are a lot of politicians that don't fulfill campaign promises. Why should the people trust you to keep working for them?
This is what I'm going to say. If you go to work in McDonald's and you don't do your job, your ass gets fired. The same thing should apply to me, anyone in the White House. If anybody is elected for office and they don't do their jobs, when it's time for re-election, you unelect them. Period. We send them there to do a job. If you can't do what you are hired to do, you replace them, because in any other job that you go to, I don't care where you go to work at. If you get a job and you go to work and you don't do your job, but you're not working up to their standards, you're terminated. The same thing should apply if you are a Senate, if you're a Congress, if you're the president. Now, we have the ability to impeach a congressman, a senator, a president. If they're not doing their job, impeach. Same thing goes for me. If I'm not doing my job, kick me out. Don't renew me. Don't re-vote for me. You shouldn't elect somebody just because they're already in office. If they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, they do not need to be in office. And the same thing applies to me. I intend to run a very transparent campaign. I want to be just as transparent when I'm in office. None of that is going to change. If you see me in the Walmart, you see me in McDonald's, say, "Hey, Dr. Aguilera, you said you was going to do this and you didn't do it." Call me out on it. I have no issues whatsoever. Hold me to my word, because a man's word is his bond. And if I can't trust your word, you ain't worth anything.
All right. Let me think if I have any more questions.
Education. I am also a huge fan. I'm a big believer in quality education. Okay. Right now, I can tell you guys, when I graduated college with my doctorate degree, I finished college with over $250,000 in student loan debt. I think the US education system tends to be very lucrative. I think we need a universal education system, because no one should go to college and have to give up their firstborn and 10 kids to go to school. Because if you go to college and you get an education, you go to school and you get a degree, if you come out with $100,000 in student loans, you can't buy a house. You can't afford to live on your own because you're paying a huge student loan debt. So I'm an advocate for student loan forgiveness programs that Donald Trump stopped when he came into office. The Republicans also, like Biden passed a couple bills for student loan forgiveness programs to help the student loans, Pell Grants, and different things for students going to school. Well, Donald Trump stopped those programs. And so I'm of the notion, I'm of the opinion, we need those programs, because it is important for people to be able to go to college and get an education, but not have to spend $200,000 and $300,000 for an education. So if we get a universal education system in place and we can control the cost, a lot more people will be able to go to college and graduate without being in there up to their eyeballs in student loan debt. It's important. I'm
It
sorry,
really
it really
is.
is. It is. And you notice there was a thing recently where they were trying to say that nursing wasn't a profession and they wanted to take away the amount of money you can get to go to school. Are you
Yeah.
serious? Nursing is not a profession. But if you go into the hospitals, most of the ones that are saving your life is the nurse, because when those mistakes are being made or something's happening, it's the nurses that are at your bedside catching the mistakes that the physicians are making. It is a joke. And that's a problem. And education is important. But if you look at the system that they got in Canada, you can go to school in Canada. You don't finish a 4-year degree with $50,000 in student loans. They get Pell Grants. They got free grants and scholarships that you can get even from the government that we had prior to this administration going in office. But once he went in office, he did a lot of things to end those programs. And now, come this summer, the student loan programs are going to change, and Pell Grants are being eliminated.
Oh, so it's gonna get more expensive?
Yes, ma'am. It's going to be more expensive. You can't even get student loans for a lot of the things that you could get before. And the Pell Grants that you were able to get, like those two, that was it used to be up to $4,000 a year for Pell Grants. That's
Uh-huh.
gone. That's gone.
Damn.
That's gone. If you do your student aid reports, look at the code on your EFC for your student aid reports
Uh-huh.
and see. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
gone. Education is important, and people need it.
It really is, yeah. Sorry, I was thinking of trying to think of another question, but I don't think I have any. That was a really good interview. Thank you so much for your time.
I'm sorry. Thank you for having me anytime. If you think of anything else, feel free to call me back or message me, okay? And I'll come back on.
Okay. Okay,
All
yeah,
right.
I will. Sorry if it was like kind of not that good. I've
You're,
never done an interview.
you're okay. But make sure you guys get out and vote now. I know you guys are young
Yeah.
and they don't this administration is trying really hard to suppress the vote for the black and the brown community. You guys got to get out and vote. Even if you don't vote for me, please vote.
Okay, yeah, no, we really are, especially like with like redistricting and stuff, like around here and stuff. They're trying so hard, but we're definitely vote if we're not in freaking martial law.
Yeah, yeah, you're right about that. Thank you though. I appreciate your
Thank
time.
you. Have a good
You
one.
have a good day. You too. Bye bye.
Bye.